Hello, guys. Welcome to Daddy in the Don. As you can see by the title, we're here to discuss the Champions League last 16 sort of qualifying round. Obviously, both British teams crashed out. We're here to discuss that, as we've said in the title. As you can see, we're both here. So my mate Graham's there. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, good to be back on a live with you. Let's get
Yeah.
going.
So both British champions, champions of Scotland, champions of England, both crashed out, both in slightly different circumstances. But we'll start with our mates Celtic. What did you what did you make of it?
Well, obviously, I'm not surprised by the outcome. Obviously, we expected Bayern Munich to go through. Um, but I will give credit for how Celtic battled, and they were unlucky. It's unfortunate how it happened, and yeah, they deserve to get to at least extra time and try and get themselves through. But ultimately, the way they play, obviously, they're playing one of the best teams in Europe. They're always going to invite the pressure, and something like that's always going to happen if that makes sense. So, look, it's unfortunate they were unlucky. They did well. They could have easily been 2-2, but the way they play doesn't help them. They sort of invite pressure. I think they had about 33% possession, which isn't too bad, but for me, if anything under 40, you're always against it. And it was just a matter of time. And Bayern Munich got the goal eventually. Yeah, it was a bit of a comedy error, but it happened. And even though you're upset, I think Celtic fans will be proud. But at the same time, they've got to be realistic. They're not good enough to get to this stage. And regardless how it happens, it's happened now. So you can't keep going on about it. You got to move on and try and beat St Mirren and Livingston and all them teams and win the Scottish League and pretend you're a big team.
Do you think Bayern Munich are slightly overrated as well, though? Because the Bayern Munich I sort of remember wouldn't have struggled in that game. They seem like, from what I watched, they did have the possession, but when Celtic were in possession, they kept the ball quite well. It was only when they went long they kept losing it. But in terms of just like knocking it about, they were getting into Bayern Munich's half quite comfortably, and I think it sort of just looked a bit like those FA Cup third round games where you just go there and expect to win, and then the other team actually puts up a fight and you can't react to it.
If I look at this Bayern Munich side, I think it's a great side in terms of players they've got. But there are players that are, for me, past it or a bit aging. Look, Harry Kane's a great player. I'm not going to dispute that. But I think you look at players like Gnabry and Leroy Sané. They haven't been consistent for a few years now, and I feel they're relying on Musiala. And at least he's still getting himself into that bracket. He's not near that quality, but he's definitely got the potential. But if you look at their midfield, you've got Goretzka and Kimmich, who Kimmich seems to play wherever. He doesn't play in midfield as much, and Goretzka's been dropped in the last few years. Lauma's not really a top quality player for Bayern Munich. So there are places where you look at that squad and go, yeah, they could improve. And that's probably why they're not as good as they've been the last few years, because it isn't a strong team. But it's still a team that should win the German league, and it's still a team that should beat Celtic easily. So yeah, maybe they are overrated, but it still doesn't excuse the fact that they made hard work of a team they should have really have beaten with a clean sheet, in my opinion. They've still got quality across the park. They've still got one of the best strikers in the world. So yeah, I sort of agree with you. I do believe that yeah, they are sort of overrated. They're not as good as they probably were 5 years ago, but they're still enough quality to get to a later stage in the Champions League, at least the quarterfinals. And they're still for me the best team in Germany, regardless what people want to say about the other team, Bayer Leverkusen.
So if you're Celtic, you need goals. They had plenty of chances in that first half. Not so much at Celtic Park, but in this second leg, they could have been a couple of goals up quite comfortably in the first 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Sold their best striker for 12 million. Not even to a decent team, to a mid-table team in France, Rennes, in the Europa League. So does that almost state your ambition? Because I can't imagine him putting in a transfer request saying, I want to go to Rennes.
It's a strange one. I think the age. I think they got on offer. He's 30 years old. 12 million for a 30-year-old is quite rare. And I think they went. I think they're going to go and gamble on Adar and give him the opportunity to be the striker. I know that the German winger, he scores plenty of goals as well. So I think they were looking at the age and thinking, well, we've been an offer in. He's a great player. He's been a great servant. He's scored a lot of goals, but they've got someone that they want to try out, and they've got someone who's scoring goals from a wide position. And I think they just went, well, we'll sell him. And obviously he was fine with that. But it's a weird one because it sort of just goes, are Rennes and Celtic the same sort of quality? And they probably are. And you look at a team that are mid-table in France to a team that are top of Scotland, it sort of does tell you what you need to know about Scottish football's quality. I think he's a good player. I definitely don't think he's a Premier League player, but maybe apart from the bottom five, he'd start for Ipswich and Leicester and Southampton and probably Wolves, but he wouldn't start for anyone else in this league. So it sort of does show you where they're at. But if you were a manager or a director or a chairman or an owner, and you got 12, I don't know how much was on his contract, so I'm not going to use that as an example, but if you got 12 million for a 30-year-old, where you've got another striker that you probably have a belief that he can get you some goals in the quality that they play, and you're probably going to sell him, if that makes sense.
I just always think though, when it's your top scorer, he scores a goal in that match, they're through the next round. That's probably going to get you more than 12 million in the long run, and get you a better seeding and things like that.
How much did they sign him for though?
3 million.
So if you look, example, Mika Berif, the one that I really always rated, we sold to Sturm Graz for 4 million. He's just gone to Monaco for about 11 million. So, and he's only 23. So it's just how it works sometimes. I think obviously Celtic will look at the profit, 9 million profit for 30-year-old who's won in what three leagues, scored plenty of goals. So I completely agree. It's a strange transfer. It's a weird transfer. It does show that maybe they've got something planned. Maybe they've got someone that they're looking to bring in the summer. Maybe they do. Maybe they know that they've got enough now that they've won the league. He'll get a winner's trophy regardless. He'll get a winner's medal. I think they've probably won the league. So then we're thinking, all right, we might not get this offer again. So maybe that's how it is. But yeah, it's a strange one because I saw it happen like on the transfer day. And I'm like, what's happened? And I never saw anything about him wanting to leave. But it is weird the quality. You know, you would have thought maybe a team like Monaco or Marseille or Lyon would have gone in. And I'm not disrespecting the team that he went to, Rennes. It was Rennes, I believe. No disrespect, they had a good couple of seasons, but they're not a team that are constantly in Europe. So yeah, maybe he was. Yeah, it's something I can't comment on because I'm not in that situation. But definitely looks a bit weird. But I can understand why certain reasons why it has been done. Mainly because of his age and mainly because where Celtic are right now, they're in a position where they're going to win the league.
Yeah, also it might be his contract, like you said. And
yeah,
anyway,
I don't know the contract. He might be have 1 year up. I really don't know.
going back to the game, I couldn't really pick out a player that had a bad game for Celtic in this tie. I think they all put in a shift, all played relatively well. But that last 5 minutes, it just felt like that goal was coming. If it made sense, they just kept getting deep. A lot of teams are guilty of it. It's not just like a Celtic thing here. So you drop deep, and then you just invite pressure. You sort of think if everyone had pushed up an extra couple of yards, he would have been offside from the rebound. So it's just, I know it's easy to say sitting here after the event, but it just sort of feels like that goal was inevitable. They only needed, 30 seconds and they'd have made it to extra time. They didn't really look vulnerable in that whole second half until like the last 10, 15 minutes when they started sitting back. So do you think that's just, if we're going to wrap up sort of like Celtic's performance, just brave effort, unlucky at the end, but probably was a little bit too much of an ask?
Yeah, I think when teams like Bayern Munich, they're never out of it. You know, you just can't ever relax. It's similar to a lot of the bigger teams that have scored late goals in the last few years. And I wasn't surprised it happened. Obviously, I didn't watch the game live, but I saw when I had a look afterwards, I saw how the game panned out. Celtic will be proud, and it was a brave performance, and they took them all the way. But they're just, in the end, the reality is they just wasn't good enough to get past Bayern Munich. And regardless how bad Bayern Munich plays, they're through, and they'll look on to the next round. And that's it, really.
Yeah, so we're going to move to the other champions of Britain, so the English champions now, which slightly different circumstances on this one. So Man City, what's going on with them? What did you make of it? Because comparing it to Celtic's game, Celtic were given no chance and nearly made it. City were given a chance in this tie when it was made. It was a 50-50.
I think they're two great sides. Man City are not on form, but they're still a great side. Let's not forget that. We can jump to conclusions. They've won the last 4 leagues in a row. They're one of the best sides in the world, but ultimately they're facing probably the other best side in the world. The team that are the reigning champions, with Vinicius, Mbappe, Bellingham, and so many more players. So two great sides. I just think one's on form, one's not as good as they were last year. I think there's circumstances. I think obviously Rodri's a big miss. De Bruyne is not on form. Haaland wasn't starting. Foden's and Mamouche are really good players. Foden's been in and out of form. Mamouche is still getting himself to a standard where he's playing these big games. Savinho doesn't. Savinho, Grealish, and Doku, for me, all just look like they're missing that extra step. They're all great players, and I think they'd start for most teams in the world, and probably every team in the Premier League, maybe to a degree. But it looks like they're just missing another player up front. And obviously, I don't know too much about the guy they signed from Porto. Big transfer fee. Looks tidy from highlights. He looks like he's someone that they could definitely probably have playing with Rodri going forward. Um, but if you're looking at this side, I don't know. It's a weird one because there's still quality there. It just feels like they're just maybe running out of ideas, and unfortunately they played the wrong team at the wrong time. I think if they got an easier draw, they probably would have gone through and confidence would have built. I think City are definitely, if they were able to scrape through like maybe a Bayern Munich and maybe get an easier tie in the next round, they probably would have got to the quarterfinals and faced Real Madrid, and it could have been a different story. I'm not saying it would have been a different story. It's all great teams, unfortunately. Man City just not on the form right now. Something's gone wrong. I don't know what it is. I pointed to Rodri, a big loss, and Kevin De Bruyne. I don't know what's going on with him. When would you ever see him not start a game like this? It looks like his career there's over. I'm sure that they'll spend a bit more money in the summer. But going on to Real Madrid, look, great side. You know, we know what they've got, the quality they've got, and they've got injuries. You know, the fact is they're still playing. Danny Ceballos has been starting because of injuries to other players, but you know the quality they've got in these areas, and they're only going to get better because they're probably going to add some defensive reinforcements in the summer where they probably feel that that's what they need. But going forward, they've got quality in abundance. They got players with versatility like Camavinga. I know he hasn't played, but Camavinga, Valverde. So it's a team that, look, Man City have lost, but they've lost to probably the best team in the world. Um, and I just think it's one of those things. You know, it's their form has cost them when it mattered. They got hard draw at the wrong time. Um, and now Man City's season's basically over. I believe they're still in the FA Cup. That's what they've got going for them. They'll get the top four. They'll finish probably third or fourth. But regarding this game, I didn't see the game live, but it was just a case of they got outclassed. Real Madrid came out. They wanted it more. And Man City will just have to go back to the drawing board and they'll have to just set themselves up for next year and go again.
The thing I can understand though, like I've seen Real Madrid a few times, like struggling with the first team against teams like Espanyol, teams like Getafe. They don't keep that many clean sheets. They come back in the last sort of like 15, 20 minutes of games to win them, like 4-2. And then you've got a City team that are doing something similar in England. Like they're really struggling. It's almost like there's a piece missing. They're saying Rodri, but you can't put it all on just one player. There's other countless world class players there that you just put Kovacic there, and surely you just do the same thing. You're playing without a striker. Tottenham have lost near enough their entire team. You can't just say sort of like Kevin De Bruyne's been injured and missed time for the last few seasons now, so that's a known problem, isn't it? It's not something that's just happened. And I just found like they set up quite defensively. They didn't look like they were going for it. But as soon as Real Madrid got the ball, they just carved them open every time they came forward. It was almost like just watching like Bambi on ice with them trying to defend. And I just can't understand how you go from being one of the most well organised possession-based football teams to not even be able to track a runner.
I think it's confidence. I just think sometimes every player has that moment, and it looks like City have got more than one player just with a confidence issue. Yeah, the defense is good, but they all seem to be losing a little bit of lack of confidence. Diaz doesn't seem to be the player he was. He's had injury problems. Stones, we know, injury problems. The young lad that's come in, it looks like he's got a bit of potential, but he's been thrown into the deep end. Rico Lewis looks like he's a bit exposed when it matters. I don't think he's as good as maybe what we thought he was. And they just, you know, got their best defender this year's been Guardiola, and he's playing left back, and he'll probably tell you, I want to play centre back. So he's been their outstanding defender, and him and Diaz are their best defenders. So it's not like they don't have good players at the back. It's just, I think, a confidence issue, really. And, you know, you are completely right. Don't just say Rodri, but don't underestimate the quality that he has to be able to protect them as well. And they just haven't been able to replace him at that moment in time. So yeah, Kovacic could do a job to a degree. You could do a job against anyone in the bottom half of the Premier League, but I know he didn't play, but it's different when it's against Real Madrid. But Yeah, confidence issue for me. I think, they're all still great players, but there are, is Ake really that good? Is Akanji really that good? I think they've been made to look good because where they play. If they both played for West Ham, would they be playing at that level? No, I wouldn't think they wouldn't be. But they have great players like Stones and Diaz who are just not the players they were in the previous 4, 5, 6 years. If that makes sense.
It looks like the whole team has lost a little bit of pace.
Yep.
And they haven't.
It's aging, isn't it?
They haven't replaced anything. The guys they brought in to go forward aren't the type of guys to carry the team. They're like complementary players. So a bit like these you're saying about Rico Lewis. He looks good when the whole first 11's available, but when he needs to stand up and be one of the main players, he can't. Where if he's got a full choice back four and midfield in front of him, he's got that license to be protected. Where like a Trent for Liverpool, if you've got your reserve team out, he can still carry that team and perform. Where
Yeah.
these guys unfortunately can't at the moment. So it almost feels like they're just stuck in. It's a rebuild basically. It does need a rebuild, but they're in that. But you can't do anything about it right now. And then the charges will probably determine that they can't actually spend money either.
The problem with City is that they're actually overloaded with players for the first time in a long time. If you look at, they've got Nuno Santos, the Portuguese player, who's played a lot more this year. That used to play for Wolves. I think it's Nunes. Sorry, not Santos. Nunes. But he's been playing right back, right wing back. He's been playing, right wing. He's been playing everywhere. But he'll tell you he's a centre mid. They've got Gundogan, they've got Kovacic, they've got the new one, Nico, they've got Rodgers. So that's 5 centre mids. They've got McAtee, Silva, Foden, all players that want to play beyond the striker, but they end up playing on the right or beyond the striker. And then you've got 3 wingers that all want to play Doku and Grealish on the left side that both can't get consistent. You've got Savinho that wants to play on the right side, who's probably played a lot more and has quality, but hasn't been to that standard. So if you look at them, for me, this is the most packed they've looked, but they're missing an out-and-out consistent winger. Doku just doesn't seem to be that player, and it looks like Pep's lost faith in him because he doesn't seem to want to play him that much. They just need to get an out-and-out winger with quality who's going to run down the flank, skin a player. I think he relies so much on players that with versatility, like a Silva, Nunes, and Foden that can play in all these different positions, but they're lacking that player that is, you're a left winger, just be a left winger. Like Saka for Arsenal, right winger, be a left winger, skin a player, take a shot. And I think they lack that at the moment, And there's just so many players that are very similar. And I think it's just not, there's no plan B. And I think that was sort of shown against Real Madrid.
And there's no transition. So like you say, you want a player that will just skin a man. So even Celtic, when they're playing Bayern Munich, that when the ball was played in, I think it was Jota out on the left, he could skin a player. So you've got, once you beat a man, you open up everyone. You've got a man over, haven't you?
Mm-hmm.
City don't seem to beat a player. They keep playing all these intricate passes, but by doing that, the other team gets back in a low block, and then you've got to break down 10 players behind the ball. Where if you do that with you, it was the 4-0 game against Newcastle. They were playing direct, weren't they? Because they're 2 up front.
Mm-hmm.
They were playing the ball straight into Haaland. Haaland was the decoy. Marmoush was running in behind. Here they're just sticking. They have been guilty of just sticking Haaland or Marmoush up front on their own, and there's no direct football. They're just trying to play tippy-tappy. They lose it. They're broken on very quickly, and you sort of saw it with Vinny Jr. and Mbappe. As soon as they're bearing down on goal, they're relentless. It's sort of like a 10-second, like a fast break in basketball. They're just down the other end and they're putting it in the net. City will go down the right. They won't put the cross in. They'll cut back inside. They go all the way back to halfway line, go out to the opposite wing, and it just feels like too many sort of like possession, needless passes that don't need to be made. There's no killer ball going in there or someone actually beating their man.
Doku can do that, but he's just not been got the trust.
Yeah.
He's not shown it consistently. Him and Savinho are out wingers, but they just don't seem to be being. They're not playing to how they're suited. And I'll go back to it: Mamouche, De Bruyne, Foden, Nunes, Silva, McAtee. I just named 6 players. If you ask all them 6 players where you want to play, they'll say beyond the striker. That's the problem for me. They can all play everywhere, but they don't actually have that many natural wingers that can beat a man, and I think they're missing that. But yeah, it's people say to me, "Oh, Cole Palmer, he's such a big loss for City." No, because he'll be exactly the same as the others.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? where would he wouldn't. Cole Palmer's amazing, but you can't fit him in with what they've got right now because he'll just end up playing on the right where he doesn't want to play. I'm not saying he wouldn't be good, but yeah, they just need an outlet. Just the one that Gonzalez, the one for Sporting Lisbon, go get him. 27 years old, left winger, Skinner player, bang. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But yeah, it is what it is. They look slow, they look aging, they look like they lost a bit of confidence. I'm sure they'll come back. I'm sure that they've still got the quality. But yeah, season's over. They deserve to lose, and they lost, and that's it. You move on. Congratulations to Real Madrid. City will just now focus on top four in the FA Cup, and I'm sure that they'll have a run in one of them. I'm sure that they'll have a run in the FA Cup. But yeah, there's not more really to talk about, really.
So we're going to look at the draw. Just a yes or no for this one first. Do you think the new system has caught City out? Because in the past, they'd be number one seed in their group. It'd be full of chuff. They'd win the group and then they'd get seeded in the next round. Where this way, because it was an open draw and anyone can finish in the top 8, anyone can finish in the bottom 8, you've now got to play Real Madrid in a qualifying game rather than in a semi-final. Do you think that's caught a few teams out this year because a couple of bad games, all of a sudden you're in a playoff with you're not protected by your seedings anymore?
Agreed. Yes.
Yeah. Right. So we're gonna.
You look at Juventus and AC Milan. They're out as well because of the same.
Yeah. So we're going to look at the draw now for the last 16 because obviously you're going to be interested from an Arsenal point of view. Still got 3 English teams in there in the last 16. So I know you're not 100% on how the draws work, and I'll just quickly run through it. Obviously, it's a bit of confusion. The teams that won this week are set in stone. So if you're going to do left side of the draw, right side of the draw, PSG are top left side of the draw. Benfica are top right side of the draw. They can't meet to the final. One of them will play Liverpool. One of them will play Barcelona. So if you're Liverpool, you've now got the option of playing PSG or playing Benfica. I'm sure without disrespecting too many teams, they're going to want the Benfica side of the draw on this one.
Because yes, they would, but I still think they'd fancy PSG.
Because you avoid playing Real Madrid into the final as well. If you've
gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense.
So then, but if we're looking at that top line, you could have Barcelona versus PSG, Liverpool versus Benfica as a last 16 potential, or the other way around. But that's the PSG game. That's a standout for tied around straight away, isn't it?
Yeah. It's going to be a good game regardless who they play.
Yeah, and then so the winners of the PSG side of the bracket will play the winners of Club Bruges, who will host or host in the first leg, Lille or Aston Villa. And then on the other side, it's Dortmund. So Aston Villa will be drawn against Club Bruges or Dortmund. If they get Club Bruges, they have to play the PSG side in the next round. If they land on Dortmund's side, they get the winner of the Benfica game. So from a Villa point, you'll probably want to take Club Bruges first, just for the sake of getting through to the next round, and then you'll just take PSG.
I think with Villa, if they were end up to get quarter final and got a good team in the quarter final and lost, it's a successful year in the Champions League. So yeah.
So and then the next line down, you could potentially have the Madrid derby. So you've got Real Madrid will play Atletico Madrid or Leverkusen. And on the opposite side, Bayern Munich get the other teams. You could get Bayern Munich versus Leverkusen, and then you get Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid. So that'd be good for last 16s as well, wouldn't it?
Yep.
And then obviously you've got Arsenal on the bottom part of this. So Arsenal and Inter Milan, that's the only team you can't play till the final guaranteed at the moment. You and Inter Milan will be separated. But depending what side of the draw you end up. So if you end up on PSV's side of the draw, you'll be in the same side as Real Madrid, Club Brugge and PSG. But if you end up on Feyenoord's side, you'll get the winner of the Bayern Munich game. Then you'd play Dortmund or Benfica's bracket in the semis.
All right. I'd rather have Feyenoord.
So you think that you've got to look at it that, yeah, we've said something about Bayern Munich, but you'd fancy him to beat Atletico or Leverkusen over 2 legs still, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you would still fancy it, but I'd still fancy facing them. The only team that scares me, like Liverpool and Barca, don't get me wrong, but I want to avoid Real Madrid.
Yeah, Real Madrid, we're comfortable they'll go through against Atletico or Leverkusen as well. So it'd be if you win your first game, you're going to play Real Madrid or Bayern Munich. So you're going to take the Bayern Munich game all day long in this one, aren't you?
Yeah, just because what they were like last time. They don't seem to be as good in Europe this year.
Yeah, so you've got to, and then what you're going to have Dortmund, Benfica, and then whoever falls on that side out of Liverpool and Barcelona. So there's no easy route to the final, but you'll take the first two games as easy as they can just to get in the mix, isn't it? That's
Look,
what
I fancy Feyenoord or PSV, and we'll beat either of them. We'll get themselves to the quarterfinals, and we'll go from there. But if it's Bayern Munich in the quarterfinals, I think we'll get revenge and we'll get ourselves to the semis.
Yeah. So could be some mouth-watering ties. We'll find out tomorrow anyway. But we're just gonna go because there was a Premier League game this week as well. So obviously Liverpool just dropped a couple of points. So how do you see the running now? Honestly, I know like you'll be looking. You've just bloody struggled to beat Leicester yourselves. I can't see you winning every game till the end of the season. Although I think you haven't got that difficult a fixture run. You've got to play Liverpool away, game 35 or 34, something like that. So if you got yourself to within 5 points around that sort of time, it's on. But how do you? Because even now, I don't see Liverpool going to Man City as a particularly hard game. He hasn't lost an away game all season, so I can't see why he can't go there and get a win. But it's just how close, how quickly do you have to close the gap for it to be a title race?
So we're 8 behind with a game in hand. If we win against West Ham, we're 5 behind. If they lose, we stay 5 behind with a win. I think if that happens, if we win West Ham and they lose against City, it's on. Because we'll be 5 behind with a game in hand. But then our next remaining 3 games would be Forest away, which will be a difficult game. Man United away, which will be a difficult game, but I think we will play them at the right time, and Chelsea at home, which will be a difficult game. But I fancy not losing any of them games. I'm not saying we'll win them all, but if we can win 2 and maybe not and draw 1, we would probably still be maybe around 3 to 5 points behind. So if we're still 5 points behind after the next 4 games, and let's say we've played the same amount of games, then I think the race is still on. If we drop any more points in the next 4 games, I think that will probably set Liverpool up because they've got Newcastle at home, then they've got I think it's Southampton at home, and Newcastle seem to be on a bit of poor form after really playing well for a few weeks. But let's all give them a go. So I think we need to make sure if with 8 games to go, we need to make sure we're not more than 5 points behind. If we can get to the Liverpool game and be in a position where we're either in front or we're 3 points, that's a chance. But I think the next 4 games are vital. If we can win the next 4 games and Liverpool don't like drop points in maybe one of them and lose one of them, then you're looking at that 5 point, maybe 3 point, maybe 2 point gap, and that opens it up. They are showing. I said this in my prediction. They're showing signs of vulnerability at the moment. They're still a great side. I'm not saying that, and they're probably still very much the favourites to win the league. And if they win the league, it's no surprise. And I do think that right now they probably will, but they don't look as good as they did at the start of the season. I think they're starting to feel the pressure. The thing with us, we've got injuries, but defensively, I can't see many teams scoring against us. That's what makes me believe that we've got a chance. We need Saka back as soon as possible. We need him in. We need him. I can't even say his name. Even Romeri and Trossard up top for the time being. That's the best we can get on with it. But the moment until we get that, it's people are still going to think, well, Arsenal can't win it because they just don't have enough attacking options. We can very much play. We can very much play Forest, Man United, and Chelsea and draw all them games 0-0.
Because that's what you've not really got anything in the final third at the moment, finishing where you're playing like essentially wingers and midfielders.
Yeah, agreed, and that's probably why
Yeah.
that's why Liverpool are still very much strong favourites. But we've now got an opportunity if we can beat West Ham, 5 points behind. If they lose to City, I'm not saying they are going to. I think it'll be a draw. So if they draw the City, 6 points clear, and we have a game in hand. But then our next 3 games will be Forest, Man United, Chelsea. They're all winnable games, but none of them are easy. Man United are shit. They're not back. They're crap, but they'll be up for that game because it's us. And all the fake Man United fans who are fake, who are not real supporters, want Liverpool to win the league, which is embarrassing. But the real ones will want us to win. So you see what I mean? You know, the fake ones that are all from London who go, oh, I hate Arsenal. That's because you're a glory hunter. Anyway, that's a different day, different subject. If we can get 3 wins, Forest, Man United, Chelsea, with what we've got right now, I think we've got a hell of a chance. But it's on Liverpool really. They've got to drop more points. We can win, and we'll be 5 behind. But if they beat City, then they're back in charge. Eight with playing one game more. They need to lose at least 3 or 4 games, maybe 3, and we need to go basically unbeaten to have really any chance. So let's see where we're at in 5 games time. If we're less than 5 points, I think we've got a chance. But I still think Liverpool very much have the chance. We'll probably win the league.
Do you think if they beat City, they beat Newcastle, they beat Southampton before their Carabao Cup final, if they win those 3, do you think that will effectively be curtains for you?
Even if we win all our games?
Because it'll get to a point where...
Okay, but if we win all our games and they win them games, we'll still be 5 points behind. So I would say it would look very likely, but I wouldn't say curtains. If we win all our games and they win them games, it'll be 5 points. So I'd still say very much from them. If we don't win all our games and they win them games, 100% curtains. Agreed. But it would be hard after that. We need a favour from City and Newcastle. Personally, I can't see anything from Southampton. That'll probably be about 9-0. But we need a favour. And if one of them can beat them and one of them get a point, we need to win out, and then maybe we've got a chance. But yeah, I wouldn't say curtains unless we drop points. But it still very much would be a position. I said the other week to Maka, I said when they beat Bournemouth, that was sort of a sign. Your team that's, of course, a lot of teams trouble this year, home and away, and they beat them pretty, not easily, but they beat them with a clean sheet. And you're thinking that was a result. I'm thinking, oh, they were going to win the league. But since then, they've drawn 2 games, given us a chance. Aston Villa at home, if we would have won that now, we would be 6 points behind with a game in hand. And you know what I mean? So it all makes, it's all small margins. But yeah, not curtains, but strong position. If we lose a game, curtains.
Just going to end it on one thing for you to explain for me.
Yep.
Leicester was 0-0. You won 2-0. You did a victory lap. You did a victory lap at Leicester. Declan Rice was standing there like he was on top of an open-top bus, hoisting the trophy. What was that all about?
No comment. No comment.
Mark Hill will be on.
I blame AFTV for all of this. They're giving our fans a bad name. Yeah, I can't answer that. I don't know why. I'm not a fan of it. You celebrate a win, but let's not get carried away.
I got like celebrating the goals because it's a relief you've won. But it was a lap.
But I can't comment on that one, mate. It's not something that I am able to defend.
Right.
I'm sure Ollie was doing the same.
Yeah, he was probably orchestrating it.
Yeah.
Anyway, nice catching up with you again.
Nice catching up, mate. Good to talk to you.
Yeah, thanks for everyone who watched. We'll have some other predictions out for the weekend, and we'll do a few more shows before the end of the year, reflect on the draw, etc. But anyway, thank you everyone for watching. Cheers, Donny boy. We'll catch you all.
No worries. Like, subscribe, please, guys. Thank you. Support is much appreciated.
Yeah, take care.